My name is Cherry Ray. I'm a YouTube beauty guru. Cherry Ray isn't my real name, nor is it my YouTube name. It's a name I thought up of on the spot simply because, well, I was eating cherries earlier today, and Ray is my late friend's name. I started out doing YouTube videos 2 years ago, getting a feel for what was trendy at the time. At first, it was beauty tips, and that turned into monthly vlogs, such as October's Vlogtober and December's Vlogmas. The more content I produced and uploaded, the more hits my videos began to get, bringing in sponsors. When I realized I was making more money than I did on a good night serving as a bartender, I quit my job and focused all my attention onto YouTube. Fast forward to the past couple of months, I changed up my angle, and boy, did my numbers skyrocket. I began with weekly vlogs that centered around what I did on a day-to-day basis, which surprisingly, people wanted more of. The things I thought were mundane seemed to be the most interesting thing to my viewers. My viewers would continue to comment on my makeup and how they wanted to see tutorials. That was music to my ears. I knew these beauty gurus on YouTube make a lot more money than I was, and that meant I would reach a bigger audience, which would lead to more money in my pocket. Call it greedy, but I found an easy way to make money. I will never have to sit in a cubicle at a 9-to-5 job. Exploring into the beauty department once again, I decided to put my beauty school certificate, yes, that's a real thing, to use for once. I started out with updated basic makeup tutorials. You've probably seen me showing you how to get your eyebrows on fleek, winged eyeliner, and bold lip for date night. Or my personal favorite, Halloween looks to kill. Yes, clickbait titles were a must in order to draw in viewers, and more importantly, money. My Halloween looks began getting attention as it spread viral outside of the YouTube universe, reaching audiences on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. My natural artistic talent for special effects makeup became my identifier. Nobody gave a shit about anything else I posted anymore. I began to gain more sponsors, and they had one rule. My camera must always be on. They wanted real footage with as little editing as possible. They wanted to see the mascara wand hit the tip of my nose and watch my reaction versus cutting it out and editing it to a flawless execution. I was fine with this. I didn't mind showing my audience how real I was. Besides, with Periscope and other live streaming platforms that I could not edit my actions and reactions on, this was a breeze for me. I began filming my Halloween look with my friend Ray. Yes, she was alive last week. The first was a compilation of 31 looks I would post throughout the month of October for a project titled 31 Days of Halloween. We were filming a look based off the Jeepers Creepers poster. For those of you who haven't seen the movie or simply forgot what it looked like, here's the poster. I began to spread the liquid latex all over her face, making sure I didn't get any in her eyes, just like the professional I was. For those of you who never use liquid latex, it gets sticky and rubbery, similar to Elmer's school glue, but dries much harder as it self-vulcanizes at room temperature. The idea behind liquid latex is that the more shit that's stuck on it, the easier it is to take off in one piece when you're done using it. This wasn't my first rodeo. I've done this before. But due to my negligence, I kept my super glue right beside my latex glue. I transferred them into similar bottles, and even marked them, but I guess I wasn't paying attention. You have to understand something. When you do something every day of your life, you become a zombie. For example, do you remember locking the door, getting in your car, driving to work, and sitting at your desk? Those mundane tasks, locking the door, getting in the car, etc., we do them so often, sometimes we forget the steps in between. That's what happened to me. I forgot to put away the super glue I was using for another project. And instead, I left it beside the liquid latex bottle, side by side, millimeters apart. To be honest, the whole application can be done so quickly, you begin to focus on other elements of the mask you are creating, not paying attention to which bottle you reach for because you've done this 100 times. Ray began to complain about her face burning. I told her it was her skin being dry and the moisturizer underneath the makeup kicking in. I continued to add fake blood and gore behind the eyes, getting right into the waterline so that it looked like she was crying blood. For the final touch, I took white contacts and popped them into her eyes. At first, they kept sticking to the tip of my fingers, the leftover glue rubbing onto the actual contact. Finally, it was in her eye, which was now bloodshot from the irritation. As someone who rarely wears contacts, this irritation was not uncommon. I noticed that we were starting to divert a bit from the original poster I was basing the look off of. But I had to add my own flair. For the final touches, I found an old potato sack underneath my sink, and I cut it up, sticking pieces on top of the latex glue. We waited almost an hour before adding the finishing touches. The thick white sewing on the potato sack. The glue had completely dried, some of the substance completely seeping into her pores, making her skin burn even more. I began to thread the thick yarn pieces through the potato sack, feeling for the fake skin that glue had created. Ow! Ray complained, more than once actually. I figured I was just tugging the skin too hard, and she was feeling the pull of the glue. I told her to stop complaining and finally finished the last stitching. Boy, did it look good. If they were going to remake the movie, they could have easily used my look I had just created. Proud of myself, I let Ray sit with the makeup for another 4 hours as I was editing the recording. By now, we were hitting the 6th hour of having all this shit on her face which according to her was no longer burning. Eventually, Ray asked me to take it off, as she was planning on going out that night, and couldn't really show up with this Halloween look at the bar. It was a little too early in October to get away with that. My finger hovered over my trackpad. Just as I was about to hit submit on my YouTube channel, she started screaming bloody murder. What? What is it? It's stuck. It's stuck on my face, she wailed. I rolled my eyes. Oftentimes, the glue was on so tight that it felt like your skin was being ripped off, when really it's just the baby hairs on your face being pulled, giving off the feeling of it being ripped off. That's a little comforting to know, right? Help me, it's stuck! It's fucking stuck! Her wails were now beginning to turn into short breaths, and I can sense that she was about to hyperventilate. I went to grab the removing solution when I saw it. The bottle of super glue was almost empty, and the bottle of latex glue was full and unused. Shit, I whispered under my breath. I began mixing everything with the latex glue removing solution, nail polish remover, rubbing alcohol, and even soap. I began to apply the mixture, starting at the base of the neck and working my way up towards the perimeter of her face. There's no easy way to put this, so please, those of you with weak stomachs, I would suggest you stop reading. I began to peel the mask off, feeling warm liquid with every tug upward. My nails were stained dark red, the blood trickling down my fingers into my palms, sitting in the palm lines. Ray had stopped screaming. That's when I noticed she had passed out from what she was witnessing in the mirror. I couldn't stop now, she couldn't feel anything. So I began to really have a go at it. So I just ripped it off. Pieces of skin hung from the super glue layers on top of layers. The sewn pieces that were supposed to go through the glue were threaded through her skin, which caused an excessive amount of force needed to pull off as much as the mask as possible. There were chunks of spots on her face where so much skin had come off. The muscles were beginning to show through. There was still a patch near her eyes. I put extra solution on there and tugged. The special effects makeup that made her look like she was crying blood was no longer needed. She really was. I had tugged so hard that the flesh on the bottom socket was completely gone. Strings of muscle showing through. I stared at the mess I had created. Ray's body began to convulse, and I stepped away. The glue had seeped into her pores, blocking airways and passages, and the facial trauma that she had just received was the icing on top of the cake to her death. And if I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't feel bad at all. In some weird and twisted way, all this amazed me. As for the rules of my camera always needing to be on, I deleted all of the footage as far as anyone was concerned. Ray and I never saw each other after that day. I told my viewers my camera was out of focus and the recording was non-usable. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a client ready to have a Silence of the Lambs Halloween look. I've got just the right butterfly, and even have the super glue so that when the butterfly tries to fly away from her mouth, it'll pull on her lips and skin. I won't even need any special effects makeup for that. Ha! Ghouls! I hope you liked this YouTube-related scary story thing. The woman who wrote this, Vivian, she's awesome. I found her on Creepy Catalog or something like that. And oh my gosh, she has so many stories and like no comments on them or anything. And it makes me really sad because they're so good. So go onto her link in the description. I'll have the link to her story, her Twitter, and her Creepy Catalog thing. Go and show her some love from the ghouls, please, because she's really good. But you know, as always, the last video will be on the top left, the next video will be on the bottom left. All my social medias are on the screen as well as in the description box below. And remember, there's always someone or something watching you.